Welcome to the Rotary Times Show, a public service program presented by Rotary District 7610, Virginia. On our programs, we talk with Rotarians and community leaders and discuss how Rotary International builds partnerships to support local, national, and world communities. I am your host, Rotarian Dr. Deborah Jackson from the Rotary Club of McLean, Virginia. The Heart of Gold Sickle Cell Foundation of Northern Virginia is a beacon of hope and support for individuals and families affected by sickle cell disease. It is a nonprofit organization that advocates for people and their families who are affected by the disease. Joining me remotely is Melanie Pearson Hurley, a member of the board of directors of the Heart of Gold. Welcome, Melanie, to the Rotary Times Show.
Thank you, Deborah. I'm so glad to be here today.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you here to be able to share information regarding this very important topic. And actually, it's one of those topics you don't hear a lot about. So I'm glad that we can bring awareness through my show to the community about it. So thank you for being here.
So glad to get the information out.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, you mentioned you are a member of the board of directors of the Heart of Gold, but let's talk about it. Let's help our viewing audience get a better idea about the Heart of Gold Foundation, how your mission, your goals, how it got started.
The Heart of Gold was founded as a 501c3 nonprofit in 2011 by my niece, the late Clarissa Pearson, who suffered from sickle cell disease from birth. Clarissa wanted to establish an organization to be an advocate for persons and their families suffering from sickle cell disease and to educate the community about the challenges those with sickle cell are faced with on a daily basis. We are based here in Northern Virginia, but we are also part of community-based organizations across the state of Virginia. So we're all very interactive and support each other.
Oh, wow. And I will, in all honesty, I had an opportunity to meet your niece when she was in high school, as a matter of fact. And what a delightful young woman she is. And I know you all are proud of her. And I know I was to even know her. So thank you for sharing that. How prevalent is sickle cell anemia, and what are some of the key challenges that one faces if they have this condition?
At this time, there are about 100,000 persons across the country that suffer from sickle cell disease. With sickle cell anemia, persons are chronically anemic and periodically will have what's called a sickle cell crisis. That's when the abnormally shaped red blood cells become trapped in joints and organs and cause severe pain. This can also lead to organ failure and stroke. So it's a very painful disease for those who suffer from it.
Oh my goodness, it's very heartbreaking to hear it. Now, is it prevalent amongst all groups, or my understanding is prevalent in the African American community?
You're absolutely right, Deborah. It is prevalent in the African American, Afro-Latino, and even persons from South Asia and the Middle East. I think one thing we all need to be cognizant about at this point is in America, we're becoming a much more diverse society. There are many people who identify with multiple racial groups, and you may say that person can't have sickle cell anemia or the sickle cell trait, but every American should be tested for sickle cell trait and sickle cell disease.
That's interesting, but good information, to know. We know it can vary in severity. Talk about it for us. Elaborate on the spectrum as the disease falls on.
Yes, there are major categories of sickle cell disease. SS, which is the most severe, SC, which still provides some discomfort but is not as severe, and then SC beta thalassemia, which you will see mostly in people with roots in Northern Africa and the Caribbean. With all of these diseases, the person's hemoglobin is affected. The hemoglobin is the protein in red blood cells responsible for delivering oxygen to your tissues. So if your tissues become starved from oxygen, then those tissues can die off. So you will see many sickle cell patients needing joint replacement in the knees, in the hips, because the red blood cells haven't delivered enough oxygen to those areas, and those areas die or become necrotic. And in that, people have difficulty walking.
Wow. You know, I got to be honest with you. I had never heard of sickle cell until 46 years ago, when my own daughter was diagnosed as being having the trait or carrier, and the doctor said, I guess they were testing for it then, but they hadn't been, I guess, many years prior to. So that brought it to my attention that this is something that they now test for in newborns. So it speaks to the importance then, I guess, of early detection and diagnosis. Talk to us, what are some of the steps that parents or anyone can take to raise awareness about the signs and the symptoms?
Well, in the 1970s, there was a law that was passed to test newborns, federal law. Many states didn't get it fully implemented until the 1980s. And when you talk to parents now, a lot of parents have forgotten what they were told at the time about their children's sickle cell status, whether most of the time it was identifying whether they had the trait. The key reason one must know their trait is if two individuals with the trait have a child, there's a 25% chance that that child can actually have sickle cell disease. Additionally, there have been studies now that sometimes people with the sickle cell trait, under certain conditions, can go into an attack that mimics a sickle cell crisis, either being stressed through athletics or at high altitudes. So we're proud that the NCAA and many high school sports leagues now routinely also test for the sickle cell trait among all the athletes.
That is good to know. That is so good to know. And you're right. I think when it was told to me, and I said, you know, to the pediatrician at the time, on the delivering doctor, what is this? And I didn't get the explanation that you just gave now. And I'm glad that you are sharing this, because what I got was it would be nice to know where it originated, which gene, and we did further tests and found out it was mom. And then we did some further testing to find out it was my mom. So at least we know that who's carrying it and where, and that's good for her to know as well, like you just said. What initiatives does your foundation have in place to spread awareness?
We do a lot of outreach through social media, such as Facebook, Instagram, our web page. We also attend local health fairs, local community fairs, such as the African American Festival in Manassas, which is an annual event. We just want to get the word out to people to understand their status, the importance of blood donations, and to have an affinity for those with sickle cell disease and what they're going through. Most recently, we've had a partnership with the Inova Hospital System here in Northern Virginia, and they recently, in the past 2 years, have created a specialty clinic for adult sickle cell patients, the first in Northern Virginia. And this was a dream of Clarissa's that has come to fruition. So now sickle cell adults in Northern Virginia don't have to travel either south to Richmond or into Washington, D.C. to be seen. And we are just thrilled that these patients and their families now have the resources here in Northern Virginia.
Oh, Melanie, I have to clap on that one because it again, my club does every so many months as one of our service projects, we go to Inova to give blood. And for many years, I was not able to give because I was a carrier. But I just recently found out last week, as a matter of fact, because I asked the question, has that changed? And I understand that that has changed. So people, even those of us who are carriers, of the trait, can also, give blood now because of the way I think they break the blood down. I don't know all the medical terms they use, but it's how they break it down. So it's the fears aren't there that used to be there. So that's good to know.
It is, Deborah. And also, the FDA recently changed some of the blood eligibility. In the past, people who had lived in Europe for 5 years or more, and that's a great deal of our military community, could not donate because of the fear of transmitting mad cow's disease, which can lay dormant in someone's system. With recent improvements in technology that can detect whether someone has been exposed to mad cow's disease, those persons as well are now eligible to donate, and that really opens up the donor pool.
Absolutely. I called our coordinator when he let me know. I said, well, I guess now I can donate. And I did ask if there was a way that the blood could go towards the sickle cell anemia department. I don't know if it's a department, I don't know what you call it. And he did tell me yes, that could be a request as well, but they would let me know when I got there, how to do it. So I said, well, that makes me feel a lot better. So thank you for spreading that good news, okay, for those of us out here who didn't know. Does your foundation support patients and their families in some way?
Yes, we established a scholarship in Clarissa's memory, through the Alfred Street Baptist Church Foundation. And this scholarship is open to any high school student in the district, Maryland or Virginia, that would be pursuing a scholarship, studies, in communications. Additionally, we also support through scholarships young people to attend Brainy Camps, which is a camp for children with sickle cell sponsored by Children's National Medical Center. And many children can't afford the fees. And so in the past, we have sponsored children to go to Brainy Camps. Additionally, we have also supported families that are undergoing stem cell transplant, which is a long and arduous process. And sometimes those families need a little extra helping hand because sometimes the parents have to take extra time off of work, or the student misses school, and there may be other challenges in that family, both financial and otherwise. And we have stepped in and helped those families as well.
Thank you for sharing that. We're going to take a short break and be right back and talk more with Melanie Pearson Hurley. Please stay with us.
We've been here before, fighting the problems that fight back, because we see opportunities where others see obstacles. We're change makers and problem solvers, uniting over 1 million minds to address complex issues facing communities around the world, including yours. We're working together as partners and professionals, while making friendships that last a lifetime. We're Rotary, and there's no limit to what we can do.
Welcome back to the Rotary Times. We're here talking with Melanie Pearson Hurley from the Heart of Gold Sickle Cell Foundation of Northern Virginia. Melanie, prior to break, we were just about to talk to, or you gave us some of the most current breakthroughs. Are there others that we may want to hear about?
Yes, recently in the news, there was talk about an FDA-approved gene therapy using a technology called CRISPR, which can alter the genes of those suffering from sickle cell to give them a normal hemoglobin. This has been tested for the past few years, and the FDA recently gave widespread approval for it to be used in patients. Some of the challenges, though, are at this time the cost. It's estimated to cost approximately $2.2 million per patient. We're hoping as this therapy becomes more widespread and incorporated across the nation, that the cost will go down and it will be available to more patients. But it's an exciting breakthrough that actually offers an actual cure to sickle cell disease.
That is wonderful. And what's it called again?
The gene therapy that's used is CRISPR, CRISPR, which is a gene altering technology. There's also another technology where a non-invasive virus is introduced to the system of the patient and can also alter the genes.
Oh my goodness.
It was recently FDA approved.
Good news. Good news. Given the importance of the research that's out there, what are some of the more common misconceptions about sickle cell?
We hear from our sickle cell warriors, as we like to call them, because these are people that battle daily to stay healthy. Some of the misconceptions they found when dealing with the medical profession is that they are drug addicts or drug seekers. As we mentioned before, Deborah, sickle cell is extremely painful. And some of the therapies that are used when people are in sickle cell crisis is the use of opioids to help reduce the pain threshold. We've heard from many of our warriors as they enter through the emergency rooms and ask for pain medication is that they're told you're just here seeking the drugs. Part of our goal in 2024 is to really reach out and educate the medical professionals and to also help our warriors have a plan in place with their physicians so that when they go into an emergency room, their dosage of medication and intravenous fluids, which can also help reduce pain, is understood by all that are admitting them to the emergency room.
So do you know whether, if you're a medical school student, is this something that they even talk about in medical school or teach about?
We have found that most medical schools do not go in depth with sickle cell disease and the challenges, as well as nursing schools. So that's where a lot of the misconception comes in with the medical teams. One of our goals is continue working with ANOVA, which is the largest hospital system here in Northern Virginia, to further educate medical professionals. And the team at the Adult Sickle Cell Clinic is truly behind that because they have heard some of the stories where patients have stayed in emergency rooms for 11 and 12 hours with no treatment whatsoever in severe pain because they were told you're just a drug addict seeking medication.
Wow, that's heartbreaking. And it's truly heartbreaking when you think about the fact that so many, of myself included, are carriers. I mean, now I don't have the disease, of course, but I just can't even fathom thinking about having the disease and going in somewhere and someone making an assumption, a very biased assumption like that. Yeah, we do need to help you spread the word. Talk to me then about a success story and an impactful moment that you have to share with us that highlights the positive impact of your foundation.
I think one of the positive impacts is seeing the number of African American, Afro-Latino donors going up in the area with our partnership with the Red Cross. One of the things that the Red Cross instituted many years ago is if you come in to donate blood and identify yourself as African American or Afro Latino, the Red Cross does what they call a blue tag program. This blue tag identifies that your blood will be prioritized for someone with sickle cell disease or even an African American or Afro Latino that may need a transfusion due to cancer or some other ailment. We found that blood donation from similar groups, the patients have a better outcome because the blood typing is a closer match. So we view that as one of our major successes, is to have emphasized the blue tag program, getting more African American donors out. And the last time I donated blood, the Red Cross informed me where my blood went, which was to a child suffering from sickle cell at Children's National Medical Center in Washington, D.C. And that's just heartwarming to know.
Wow, now that's an impactful story. I just wrote it down, blue tag program, that we need to spread the good news about it. So thank you for sharing that. How can communities or organizations such as mine, Rotary, how can we get involved with your foundation to help?
We would love to partner with the Rotary Club on blood drives. We'd love to partner with the Rotary Club to get the word out for people to know their sickle cell status. We would also like to get the word out to help those young people suffering from sickle cell disease that they too can be productive citizens. I think groups like Rotary, which offer a positive influence in our community, would be great for some of our young people to find out more about and how they can become members as they go into adulthood. Also, we think that helping us get the word out at community fairs. Let us know if the Rotary Club is having a community fair. We would be thrilled to come and support with informational materials.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I'm hoping my Rotary family around the district, and we are pretty large, will hear this message and get back to you to help you get the message out. So as we begin to wrap up, what message would you like to leave with our viewers regarding the ongoing challenges of a sickle cell carrier or someone with the disease, or the role that the foundation plays in making a difference there?
I think if everyone just tries to be supportive, one thing we've noticed, Deborah, is that not every disease is visible. I remember Clarissa telling me, because she had a handicap placard on her car, because she had difficulty walking long distances and would get short of breath, that people would challenge her and say, "There's nothing wrong with you. Why are you parking in this space?" And just because her disease wasn't always visible to someone, we need to have more compassion and understanding that not every disorder is necessarily visible. We hope that through this program, we hope that your viewers will become more understanding if they find out someone has sickle cell disease or has a member of their family with sickle cell disease, and just show that compassion and outreach and understanding for that family.
Melanie, you have taught me something today, and I always say if you go anywhere or hear something, if you can walk away with just one tidbit, it was been some learning that happened, and I want to thank you for today, because I've walked away with more than one tidbit of information about sickle cell anemia that I hope that the community, larger or greater community, will be able to take forward and share as well. So thank you for coming, and we hope that you will come back, and when there are other breakthroughs, just let me know and we can get you back on so we can share the good news.
I'd be glad to, Deborah. Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure. For the Rotary Times program, I am your host, Rotarian Dr. Deborah Jackson from the Rotary Club of McLean, Virginia. You're welcome to join us at a Rotary Club in your area for either breakfast, lunch, dinner, or a service project. You can find a Rotary Club near you by looking us up on the internet. Many clubs are hosting meetings in person, virtually, or just in some hybrid format. You only need to look us up for details. Remember, our time is your time, and it's time well spent. Please join us for our next program as we continue to celebrate Rotary's 117 years of service above self.